Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat. And today we're having a look at creating basic input forms in Microsoft Access. So let's get right started with it. First, let's get rid of this hat. Hope I haven't got hat hair. Let's get some proper glasses on so we can see. Oh, that light's so bright. Okay, now we're ready to go. All right, so in this lesson, we're looking at creating forms. So things like eBay have a form on there. So when you go there, like to look for things, there's a nice picture of the item and there's details in text boxes and things down here. So we're looking at making that kind of thing for our Passy's Bargain Barn database that we've been working on. And here's an overview of the lesson of what we're going to do exactly. So the idea here is that we're going to be making some basic screen forms in Microsoft Access, and these forms will be able to use to process items in the business. So we'll be displaying all of our items that are available. We'll be looking for ones that are between 30 and 37 days old so that those ones can have the seller contacted to come and collect the goods from the barn because they haven't sold. We'll be having another form where we can look at items that are more than 37 days old because those ones need to be sent off by Passy to charity. Okay, so it's all about forms this time, and forms are the much easier way of using the database. All right, now it's probably best that you go in the YouTube link to our website. So in the description on the YouTube, as well as a timeline index of how you can jump to different spots in this video, there is also there a link to the full lesson on our website. So if you go to that full lesson, you can get the step-by-step guide, which is what we're looking at here right now, and you can get the start database and follow along with the lesson. Okay, now if you already have your own database you're working on, you just want to know how to make some forms, that's fine. You can do this lesson and learn everything you need to learn. If you are doing our Access Learning course though, probably best you get the guide and the start database. All right, so we've done a design for our database and we have a stock items table which is set up. The only problem is that we've set it up, as you can see here, with August dates in it, okay? Because that's when we set it up. Now, you're doing this exercise sometime in the future. So to get the results we're going to get in the video, these dates need to be forward dated relative to where you are now in the future. Okay, so there's a couple of online tools here which will enable us to do that easily, all right? So these dates were actually set up on the 3rd of September or around the 2nd of September. So let's just say it's the 2nd of September. If you go to time and date website, go to the calculators and use the date-to-date duration calculator. Okay, if you put in 2nd of September, as the start date of when this data was made in the table, and then just click on today here for whatever today is. So today for us is 2nd of the 10th, 2018. So you click on that and it'll tell you down here when you click calculate duration, it's going to tell you how many days it is. So it's a 30-day difference. That means that all the dates which are in the stock items table in the start database need 30 days added to them. So there's another calculator you can use if you need it, and that's on the timeanddate.com website. This time you go to calculators, date calculator add. In that you put in any particular date you want to change in the stock items table. So there is an item there that's got 25th of the 8th on it, so you need to change that by add function here, make sure that's on 30 days. And when you click it, it'll tell you it needs to go to 24th of September. That's how to forward date it. Okay, so in the stock items table, this is what you'll start off with in the start database, a whole lot of August dates. And using that calculator, if you need it, basically you just need to add on the number of days for the date that you're doing this particular tutorial, and then just forward date them, whatever the answers the calculator gives you. Then you'll be set to go with the tutorial. Okay, so as we said, use the free online date calculator. And there's another example there for if you were doing 50 days, all right? So there's some tables set up there also for the sellers. So for those stock items, there's people selling them, and there's a table set up there in the start database for that. There's also a buyer's table, but we're not going to be using that one too much in this lesson. Now, a number of queries are also in the start database. Now, if you've done the queries lesson previously in our series, this will be familiar to you, but basically we have a query which is going to do what the available items are at the moment, which are less than 30 days old, because if they are more than 30 days old, they're getting messages to the seller to collect them, so they're not going to be for sale for much longer. So there is a query that works out all of the available items less than 30 days old. When you run that query, this is the response you should get from the database, a list of those items. There's a query out there too in the start database for the unsold items, so that's all been set up there, where what we'll find with that is that ones which are more than 37 days old in the criteria, there's a couple of things. There's a gas stove kettle and a wall telephone with dates in July. So make sure in your stock items table when you change those dates that these ones here, you may have to go back. The gas stove kettle and the antique wall telephone actually need dates in July, 5th of July and 4th of July. So you might have to go back to the stock items table right now, pause the video and go and do that. Now, there's also another query that's set up to find all of your sold items. What do you got sitting around that's sold at the moment? Because once something's sold, then calculations need to be done to work out the 20% commission for the bargain barn business and the 80% of money which is going to be sent to the seller. Okay, so there's calculations in that query to do that. That's a fairly large query. We built that in the queries lesson using calculation formulas. When you run that, there should be two items which are sold, a camera lens and a lady's mountain bike as shown here. And on them, it'll have the status here as sold, and it's calculated the commission that needs to be kept by the Passy's bargain barn, and from that price it subtracted the commission and worked out the balance that's going to be paid to the seller. Okay, so once we've got the form built for this, we'll be able to actually click payment, get on the mobile phone, do the phone banking, or the owner of the business can do this, put in the bank receipt that's given to him when he does it and what date he did it on, or she did it on if someone else is helping out operating the computers perhaps. Okay, now we've got another query for the items that need collecting. So in this business, once the items are older than 37 days, they go to charity. But before that, between, as you can see in the listing start date here, when they're between 30 days and 37 days old, people have to come and collect them. So this is a query that's going to put out a report of those people so that they can be contacted and told to collect their items. So that one's also in the database. All right, so available items form, that's the first one which we are going to make today. So finally, we're at the making of the forms. And in this one, we need a screen form that's going to be able to show us the items that are currently available for sale. So, I mean, you can load up the database and look at it in this kind of spreadsheet view to find it, but it's a lot easier to use a form. And we're going to use the create form function in Access to do this. So let's go across to Microsoft Access and get started. Okay, so for this one, it's the available items query. Remember, that's the one which gives us these available items. We need to be first clicked onto that in our sidebar. Now, if you're not seeing all of this, make sure you're always clicked on with this little arrow to object type and all access objects. That's very important. Otherwise, you won't see these things. Now, we need to be clicked on that one, and we just go create, and then we go across here from the create tab to form, and that's going to do the magic and create us a basic form. I'll just close this property sheet on the right because we don't need that yet. Okay, so that's made the basic form for us. It's taken the fields off that query and put them into a form layout. It's not particularly pretty at the moment, so we're going to work on fixing that. Now, the first thing here is the heading. It's given this horrible heading of available items LT30, the name of the query. So we're just going to say this is the available items, okay, that we've got available at the moment. So we can double click in there and change that. And here we've got fields, and this is kind of Not such a great white background. White backgrounds aren't particularly good. So on this, if we click in this area here, so see how there's all little areas you can click in? We want to just get clicked on so we've got the orange box all around there. Okay, now we can open up the property sheet and change that background color. So here's your property sheet up here. Make sure, of course, that you are on the design tab and we go to property sheet. Now in the format properties here, there's a thing called back color. The third one down is back color. Now, if you click on that, you will get a drop down arrow, but you also get this kind of ... triple dots icon. That's the one you need to use. It has some special name, but I can't remember what it is. Just remember it as ... or triple dots. If you click on that, it'll give you a whole bunch of colors you can use for the background. Now we're just going to pick this nice blue down here to use for our back color, and straight away our form is looking a whole lot better. Okay, now there is only one issue. We can grab the sides here and stretch it a little bit. There is one issue though. The labels here for the names now aren't so visible against that blue background, so we need to change all of them to a darker font. Now if you hold down the control key with your left hand, so press the control key on your device, laptop or computer, and just gradually go through and carefully click on each of these. And what you can do then is, in the format properties on this property sheet, there's a thing called, now it's not called font color. For some reason it's called for color. So it's down here. It's this one called for color. So not font color, but it's near the font stuff. And that's the foreground color. Now again, use the triple dots symbol and that'll give you the color picker. Okay, so on the color picker, we need to make that, let's go for a dark blue, a really dark blue here, and that looks okay. If we click off there now, yeah, we can see things a whole lot clearer. So that's going well. So let's just go up the top left-hand corner and save that. And it's going to be called the available items. Maybe we'll just call it available items for sale even, like that. Okay, so they're the ones that are available at the moment for sale. All right, and you can see in the left-hand column, we've now got a form section and it shows us that form. Now, up in here, this is a place where you can put a logo picture. And if you've got the downloads file from the course, you'll have the logo picture with the bargain barn icon. So if we clicked on that and we go up the top here in the design tab, see how there's a thing called logo? All right, now we click on that. Now with this, we need to then navigate to where the logo is, and I need to remember exactly where it is. This could take a bit of looking around. Where are we? Forms, lessons, basic forms. This one here, the Bargain Barn logo. So you will have downloaded that, have it in your downloads folder, and we click that and in it goes. But oh, what's happened? Ooh, we can't see our little bargain barn there. All we can see is some of the boards of the barn. So we have to format this to fit into that box because the picture is a lot bigger than the box. So again, while we're clicked on that, go to your property sheet. If that wasn't open, just go up the top and go property sheet while you're on the design tab. And there's a thing here called size mode. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, size mode. Now it sets it to clip, which makes it full size in a little box so we can't see it. You need to change that and have it as stretch. You can use stretch or zoom. We've found stretch usually works the best. So once we stretch that, then it fits there nicely. Now this box here, I think we can also make that a little bit bigger if we want to. We can move that across if we want to have a bit more size. And we could even change the back color of this if we want to. So perhaps we'd be clicked in like that. Oh, let's give it a go. We'll go to the back color, choose the triple dots. Let's go for something that's a super light blue like that. Okay, so you can change that as well. So things are looking quite good. We're just about, I think, finished with that form. Now we just need to drag it down a bit so it's a little bit bigger there and save it. All right, now something I think interesting is about to happen. We now close the form, and if we go to reopen it, is it the same size as what we saved it as? No, it isn't. See how we wanted to have a little bit more room at the bottom here? and a little bit more room at the side. So we've got a bit more space around it there. If you save it and close it, and then go to the side and double click to open it up again, Access shrinks it to its own size. So we're gonna make a couple of changes to fix that. And some of you might have your form stretching right across the screen as well, which is something we don't want. So first thing is to go to File and Options, and then we want to go to the second one, Current Database. You can put the name of the form here and then it'll come out up the top. So this is our basic form start lesson. Now, if it's on tabbed documents, that'll stretch it out to be full screen. So make sure that's on overlapping windows in this section here, and then just say OK. And the other thing we need to do is open up that form and see, if we wanted it in the center of the screen too, we could try save it and close it, but when you open it, Access has remembered that, so that's good. Right, now what we need to do now is to get into the layout view where we're editing the form. Okay, now notice this is in user view for data entry. So there's different views for the form and we need to go through that. So let's look at form views. So view, there's form view, which we're in for entering data, and that's what normal general users of the system would use. There's design view, which kind of gives you a grid and is a bit complicated. We don't use that too much of the time. And there's layout view. So we want to be in layout view. So while we're in layout view, let's go to the design tab and get our property sheet up, or you can be in format here. But let's say you didn't have that property sheet showing, you would need to go to design tab and bring up property sheet. Now, on the properties here, there's 3 properties we need to change for the form. So up the top here, at the moment, it's just focused on what it's clicked into, the item ID code. We want something that applies to the whole form. So you need to click that down arrow selector, and we need to do form, this one here. So this, whatever we're doing here in the format tab will apply to the whole form. And there's 3 fields you always need to change whenever you make a form. You don't want Access to auto center it, so you say no to that. This auto resize, we want to say no to that. And the third thing we want to say no to is fit to screen. So we want full control of how our form windows look. So what we're going to do is we're going to just make sure they're always set to no. Those 3 things, auto center, auto resize, fit to screen, they always are set to no. So once you've done that and you save your form, let's check it out. We open it up. And if we decide we wanted it really bigger like this, because maybe later on we're adding images in here in a future lesson, we can save it and close it. And this time it remembers how big it is, okay? Because we've turned off all that auto resizing, auto centering stuff. So that form is pretty much finished. The navigator is down the bottom left-hand corner of the form. So we can use this arrow to flick through records. This one goes right to the last record. This one will take you back to the first record. So we've got a little navigator bar here, kind of like the player on a YouTube video where you can use that to pause and play and all that. We can just flick through our records. So that's all really good. That one's finished. So this is going to be a bit of a long lesson. If you want to take a little mini break now, yeah, take a break just for a minute. Okay, welcome back. We're going to go back to our available items form we just made, and we're going to make some data entry. So this men's mountain bike, good news for Jack Jones, because that just got sold in the bargain barn. So up here where the status is, we can change this status on the form to sold. And this is the whole reason we wanted these forms, to make life easier than going into the table spreadsheet looking things and doing stuff. So we can change that to sold and we can save it. And then if we flick through the records and flick back again, it's got it sold on it. Now, because the form is linked by the query to the table, whatever we've changed here on the form should have been changed like in the master copy in the table. So let's just close that form, because you should only have one thing open at a time in Access. otherwise you can run into problems. So we'll go to our stock items form and we'll find that men's mountain bike, which is down in this row here, and it is now set to status of sold. So whatever you do on the form will go into the table. If we change this on the table when we look at the form, because it's kind of like a window onto the table, that would be changed in the form as well. Okay, so we just need to do that, a little bit of data entry on the form. Now, this is a little task for you. Let's just find out where we're up to in the guide, because we've done a lot of work just there. We've added our logo on, we've resized the form. So the guide here tells you how to do everything step by step. So it's well worth getting this guide. It's great to refer to later on when you just want to have a quick recap on something and you don't want to have to go through the whole video again. So Microsoft Access, creating the sellers form. So we need a form for our sellers, the people who are selling the goods. So it's a matter of the same sort of thing. Make sure you're on the sellers table in the sidebar and create, and then form, okay? And then if you follow through all of the same sort of steps we did, we'll be able to make this form here. Okay, now there is a little thing about subforms we have to do, but anyway, let's jump across to Access and let's do this. Right, so we clicked onto the sellers here in the sidebar and we go create and we do create form because we want to make a data screen form. Now, when we've created this form, you can see, I'll just grab the sides here and stretch it out. I'll turn off the property sheet for now. You can see that as well as the actual seller details, we've also got down here a kind of little spreadsheet of what those people have for sale at the moment, okay? So there's sort of, if we grab all those and stretch them across, we could even stretch this one across. So to get stretching across, if you just arrow near it, you get double arrows with the mouse. Don't have the button pushed down yet. Once you're in position with the double arrows, then you can push down and drag. So if we drag all those out, we can see them. And if we flick through our records here, down the very bottom, because we've now got two navigators, which is a little bit confusing, we can see, yeah, Bob Canty has the phone for sale. The lens is Denoda, is Argent. Jack Jones has that, he's got a few things for sale. He's sold both of his mountain bikes by the look of it and the umbrella. But anyway, this subform, as useful as it is, we don't want it actually on this lesson at the moment. So if we're on the edge of it, and we right click and go, actually if we just on the edge of it, or click anywhere in it, so the whole orange bar's outlined, and then press the delete key on your computer and it won't actually delete, okay? Let's try that again. So there's a little plus sign in the corner, and we'll try click on that to make sure the whole thing's selected and press the delete key, and then it works. All right, so this can be temperamental. Sometimes if you clicked down in here, you've actually got everything and you can press delete. Now it's decided it wants to work. If it doesn't want to delete, well then you can right click while you're on the orange bar and do delete as well. But anyway, whatever way you want to do it, needs to be deleted, and we've got that out the way. So let's take these fields here and see how they're all kind of glued together. That's okay, and we'll just make our form a little bit smaller like that. Okay, now from this stage here, you should be able to now remember we've got that, and if you go on your property sheet while this part's selected and change your back color, we're going to pick a nice kind of, I think a purple color for that. Oh, it's a blue, not purple. Need to see my optometrist. Purple. These ones aren't the right sort of color for purple. Yellow's a good color for purple, so we hold down Control and click on them. Go down to 4 color. Remember 4 color, get on the triple dots. Do your yellow kind of color for them. And I think that's pretty much all we need to do. The seller's form is quite simple, and yeah, if we squash this way and pull out across. Okay, so Now, can we move some of these things? If we wanted to move that over there, see, it won't move, so it's all stuck together. Now, the one on the actual exercise looks a little bit different. It's kind of across the screen, but that's fine. This is good. This will do the job. Sellers. Now, we haven't got the logo in there, so remember, click into that, do your logo, and we want to have to go and find it again. So let's go find that logo. Logo, where is my logo? Sound like Austin Powers in that video when in that film he'd lost his mojo or something. So anyway, let's just get that in there. And remember, on the size mode, get it off clip and get it onto stretch. That's all good. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's just change the color of this one, change its back color maybe to a nice kind of light gray color. All right, now that's pretty good. So we'll just save that form and we'll just save it as sellers. That's a good name for it, and that one's done. Okay, so if you want to take a break now, pause the video. Okay, welcome back. The next form we're making is the sold items form. Okay, so it's going to look like this, and how you make it is in the sidebar on Access, you click on the sold items query. So we're not going to go through making all of this, but see how we had a sold items query? If you clicked on that, then you go create and go form. That will build the basics of the form for you, and then you need to make nice colors and do all that sort of thing. So we're just going to pause the video here and let you do that one for yourself. And when it's finished, it should kind of look like this. Okay, welcome back. This is the sold items form. Now on this, something we should have told you is if you want to change text, if you go on the home tab, you've got all your normal kind of text things here. So we've got like if we've colored that in, for example, we can just go here and pick a color for it. So it could be black, which doesn't look too good, or light blue. So you can do your text there. You can also decide to bold it there. You can also change your font size there, all using familiar Windows type controls. So let's just make sure you've flicked back to the home page to do that. You can also change those things down in properties here, like the font size and all that sort of thing, but it's a lot easier to just go back to the home page and use the familiar Windows things to do that. All right, now this is our sold item, so let's actually sell an item. So this mountain bike, which is sitting here with Jack Jones at the moment, has been sold, okay? So this sold items, we can process this item. So this is where they're gonna do the payment. So the owner of the business has got his mobile phone out. He's going to do the bank payment. So he's then going to find out that, okay, this is Jack Jones. Now, this form doesn't have the bank details, which is kind of perhaps a disadvantage at the moment, something we might build in later on. So he actually has to open up the seller's form here. So this is why we wanted those resizable windows that we can move around and stuff. We wanted to change our database to look like that. Now it looks like this one here, I think I forgot to turn the auto resizing on. Let's just save it and close it. And no, I did, I remembered, so that's okay. So what we need to do is we'd have to have that open, which is a bit awkward, and we need to find Jack Jones in here. And there he is there when we flick through. So that's his bank code, and that's the bank account number. So when we're doing the phone banking, we'd have to sort of have this open and enter it on. That's a bit difficult having two forms open at once. So later on, we're going to fix that anyway, but we'll just leave it like that for now. Let's just close that form. We've got the details we need. So once it's been paid for, we need to be in form view to do this. So notice we can't actually go in here and type in data or tick that box or do anything because we're in the sort of the design view. So remember up the top left-hand corner, there's views, there's form view, there's layout view, which is the design view we're in, and then there's full-on design view. We need to be in form view to do data entry. There is down the bottom right-hand corner, if you can see behind me, there's three icons as well. You need to be on the middle one is kind of the layout view. The far right-hand bottom corner is design view. You need to be in the first of those tiny little icons down the right-hand corner, very bottom right-hand corner, and that's form view. Now we're in form view, we can tick this, we can put in a bank receipt number, and we can enter the payment number with this date clicker. So we're going to just say that was paid on the 2nd of October, and we save that form. And once something is sold and the person has been paid, we don't want it coming up in the sold items again, okay? The idea of the sold items is what's in here are things which we need to make payments to the seller for. That's what this form's used for, finding things where we need to pay someone. Once we've paid someone, that item is now finished as far as the bargain barn goes. So we just set it here, change the status to out of stock. S-T-O-C-K, stock. So we change that to out of stock, save this form and close it. If you go back to your stock items table now and look for that men's bike, you'll see its status, if we just widen this up the top, is out of stock, all right? So now, when you run the sold items form, notice that Jack Jones's mountain bike is no longer there. There's the lens and there's the lady's mountain bike, which doesn't have an ID code on it, interestingly enough. So that's interesting. Why isn't there an ID code on that? Let's go back to the stock items table. Oh, I must have accidentally fat fingered something there. So let's just call it MLBIK. Okay, I must have accidentally hit some key while I was in there. And if you run the sold items query too, run that, and you'll see that the lady's bike is in there and the men's bike isn't there anymore. So whatever we've done to the form with the sold items, when we mark that item as sold and changed it out of stock, that's changed in both the table and in the query. Okay, so there's one other thing, the lens here where the seller has to be paid. But anyway, that's how you do the processing. Now just remember, to be able to enter into these boxes on the form, you need to be in the form view. When we're designing things and making changes, we're going to use layout view, but you need to be in form view. Form view is your data entry view. Okay, now there is also an unsold items form. We're not going to make that in this tutorial. The video is already getting long enough as it is, but you should be able to make that. And how we got these orange boxes is in the property sheet, you can actually hold down Control and click in all of these, and you can change their back color. So to give them a back color as well. All right, so should be able to make that form from what we've learned so far, and that's the next thing that needs to be done. Or you could skip that if you want to. Once that form is made, then we can process unsold items, all right, and change them to charity status. Okay, so once they're unsold, 37 days old, if they've been taken out of the barn, sent to charity, change it to charity status. We know we don't have to go looking in the barn for that item then, because it's already gone to charity. Okay, now the next form is going to be adding a new item for sale. So Jack Jones is very pleased that he sold that mountain bike, and has bought in a pair of elephants and wants to sell them in the bargain barn as well. So we need to make a new form that is going to be for this, for when we've got a customer bringing things in and wants to sell them. If he was a new seller, we could just use the seller's form and we could add him onto that form as a new person. But this one, we don't have one for actually adding a person's stock item. So we need to make that. Okay, now there's going to be made from the stock items table, and there's going to be some fields that we don't need and we're going to get rid of. There's going to be other things that we're going to add on. So this one's going to be fairly complicated to make, but let's go over to Access and get started. Okay, so for this one, you need to be on the stock items table and just our good old create, and we're creating a form. Okay, that will make the basic form. Now, certain things we don't need. We don't need the image location. That's for a later tutorial video. So hold down Control and click on that. Hold down on payment made. We don't need that. We don't need bank receipt number. So we're just carefully holding down the Control key and clicking on all of them. And then if we press the delete key on our computer, that should delete those fields. All right, so they're gone. Now, if you look very carefully at this screen, you can see there's kind of some dotted fields behind here. Okay, it's made a whole layout grid for this form. Now, when you flip over to form view, you don't see that grid. So for people when they're typing things in here and doing dates and whatnot, they're not going to see that grid. It's only when we're in the layout view we can see it. Okay, now this stock items table that we're making, we've taken away those fields, that's all good. And we want to add some more existing fields onto here because we want to have some information about the seller on this form. At the moment we've only got their ID. We want to have their name, email, phone, and we can get that from the seller's table and we can actually bring it across onto this form. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we add some more fields? While we're on the design tab, we've got a box up the top here called Add Existing Fields. So we need to click onto that one to add some fields that exist in the database but aren't not on this form at the moment. Over in the right-hand sidebar here where we want to click on this, we need to click on this to show all tables. And the table we're interested in is the sellers table. Okay, now, if we double click on these four fields, like last name, first name, email address, phone, bank ID code, now that's a bit of a shame. It's made that like that, so it doesn't fit. It's with a scroll bar. Okay, so let's grab them. So we double click last name, it'll come onto the form. Then we double click first name, that comes on. Email address, you can see is coming on at the side. The phone, and we want the bank ID code and the bank account number. Okay, so all of those things have been added onto our form here. Now we need to move things around a little bit on the form because where they are may not be the best. So listing start date, we'd like that to be over here. So you can drag it. See how there's the little sort of pin cushion lines? They're available boxes on the form. So we can move things around on this. So let's just stretch it out a bit. Okay, we've got a whole lot of things happening here which need moving around. Okay, so we're just grabbing them and moving them into little dotted boxes that are available for them to fit into and getting all of that set up. And on the seller ID, we'll take the last name here. Okay, we're just going to move all of them up. Okay, perhaps pause the video for a minute here. Okay, welcome back. We just moved those fields around, then we did all of our other usual things, adding the logo, changing the color, and we've got our stock items form here. So let's add a new record. So down the bottom left-hand corner of this form, we'll just get rid of that property sheet, we don't need that. Down the very bottom left-hand corner where there's the navigator, you can actually go to the last record, I think, and then we need to add a new record. So see how there's this kind of bright sunshine symbol? If you click on that, that's going to enable a new blank record. So we've got those elephants which we wanted to add in, okay? So we're going to need to change over to form view to do this, all right? So make sure we're in form view so we can enter things. Now this is going to have a code of ELPH, and then we need 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 ones, okay, 1. Okay, so that's going to be its code. The status of these is that these are, they're available. They're just coming into the barn now, so they're going to be available. Now the condition of those is they're used items, so they're going to be used. The listing start date, well, that's going to be kind of like the 2nd of the 10th. The price on the elephants, Jack wants $50 for those. The category for those is they're an outdoors kind of item, is what we're going to call them, and they're 2 matching garden elephants. All right, now the seller ID, who's selling them? Jack Jones. If we go to the table and look him up, or we could even go to the form as well. Jack Jones, that's his ID there. So let's just Control C to copy that and close the table. And if we put the seller ID in here, Control V, and then we press enter. Whoa, look at that, magic! All of those fields came in together for the seller straight away. If we change it to Jack Jones 2, there isn't a Jack Jones 2. We've only got one Jack Jones, and that's Jack Jones 001. But as soon as you put that in, it all fills in automatically with his details, and you're thinking, wow, that was kind of magic. How did that happen? Well, that all happens from the database relationships. Because we have a link between the seller ID in the stock items and the seller ID in the sellers, as soon as you enter in that ID link, Access actually jumps over to this table and grabs the fields that you need. So this is the power of the relational database. This is why relational databases are so good. So that's our stock items form finished. So now people can bring things into the barn and we can enter them onto the system. If we did have a new person, let's say, let's just go to the sellers form is the best thing to use. So we've got our sellers form here. Let's say we did have a new person coming in. We would just click the new blank record down here, the sunshine symbol. Or if you go right to the end of the table, no, it doesn't automatically do a new record. So you've got to click the bright sunshine symbol and that will bring you that. You can come up with an ID for them, put in their last name, first name, email address. You do that first, then make sure you copy their ID so you can paste that into the stock items table when you're putting in their new items. Okay, now, when you save that form, just remember anything you do in the form goes into the stock items table. So we have now got as our second item here in that table, we've got the two matching garden elephants. So that form is working beautifully and is a lot easier than trying to do the updates into the table. Okay, so that's it for this. So we need to save the database. So we go File, Save As, make sure we're doing Save Database As, not saving an object. Actually, let's just go back with the back arrow. So when we had something open, like our sellers form, and we were making changes to it, now actually I want to go into Layout View and I want to do Property Sheet here and just check about that property on the form, that auto center is no, auto resize is yes. So that's why it was not staying where I wanted, fit to screen. Okay, so always remember to do those 3 changes on the form. So let's get that sorted and save it. That was just a little bit annoying. Okay, now it opens where we remembered it was. Okay, so, and I've totally forgotten what I was going to mention, but we've got the sellers table there. Now, anything you do in this, of course, goes into the tables and vice versa. All right, now, for a little bit of extra practice, if you would like to do it, we've got some things here that you can do. Make a table for the buyers. So we've got a buyer's table there already. You can make a form, sorry, not a table, make a form for the buyers. So that'll be a little bit of forms practice if you want a bit of extra stuff. Where are we now in our course? So if you've been following along doing our Microsoft Access course, we've actually created database and tables. We've done that. We've made queries, which were very useful when we came to today's lesson on making screen forms, because we could use the queries to generate the forms. Next stop, we'll be making some drop-down lists. So on those forms we've made, some of the things like whether something's new or used could just be in a little pick and click list. So we'll be working on that one next. It'd be nice to have pictures of all of our stock items. That nice picture of the elephants, it'd be nice if you saw that on the form. So we'll be getting pictures on, that'll be in a separate lesson. Then we're doing our validation, our reports, and our main switchboard menu. So thanks for your patience. It's been, you know, a rather long lesson, but you should now know all the basics of creating screen forms in Microsoft Access. And a final note, we didn't get Access 2019 yet because it was supposed to be released 1st of October, but here in Australia it's not yet available. We're assuming everything we've done here will work the same in 2019 because everything we've seen on the internet says nothing's really new in 2019 in relation to screen forms. If something was drastically different, we will add sort of an annotation note onto the video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to add some nice pick and click drop down lists onto our forms.